Well, welcome everyone. We will get started here laying down on our backs. And if you just have your blocks, they don't need to be super close, but just have them ready for your practice tonight. And then lay back onto your back. I like to start with my legs bent. You could either let them be bent or straight, but wiggle around until you're nicely rooted on both shoulder blades and both hips. The arms resting out away from you, however you'd like, and the eyes floating closed. Let's take a moment to let go of everything external and let our awareness turn inside. Maybe doing a quick little scan from head to toe and noticing the areas that we feel free and open, pain-free, as well as any areas that may feel tight or achy or sore. Acknowledge whatever thoughts are still hovering around the brain. Acknowledging whatever emotions are hovering around the heart. And then freeing up our energy to focus on the breath. Watching a few cycles. How's your breath moving this evening? Can you begin to slow it down? Slowly deepening it. And then as you find this nice, gentle, deep rhythm of the inhale and the exhale, you imagine that your breath, instead of starting or moving through the lungs, imagine that your breath is starting at your pelvic floor. And on the inhale, just imagine your breath moving up the front of your body all the way up to the crown of your head. And then as you exhale, imagine that breath traveling back behind your spine and then back out through the tailbone. So it's just a fun little visualization, a little different way to watch the breath. So just slow, steady, and deep physically. Then watch that breath, imagining it moving up the front, down the back for a few cycles. It's thought that this little visualization with the breath is balancing to the energetic body, as well as giving your mind something to focus on in case you get distracted or bored with some of the ordinary breathing practices that you're more familiar with. Now, after this cycle of breath finishes, let the legs bend. And let's scoop the thighs in towards the chest, giving them a hug, maybe rocking a bit. And I know that sometimes on the rainy days, our joints can feel just a little more stiff. So let's extend the arms and legs now towards the sky. And first of all, letting the elbows and knees kind of get a little movement here as we bend and straighten the limbs. Maybe even letting the arms circle a little bit and letting the knees circle a little. So we get the hips and shoulder joints lubricated here as well. And you can actually let this be a little free flow movement. The arms and legs don't have to match in their movement, just creating some circles with those arms and legs. And then when you feel ready, including the hands and feet. So circling through the wrists and ankles, wiggling the fingers and toes, all while letting the limbs just float freely in the air. So you can be glad you're in your own home in a little room where nobody can see you doing this. Just let yourself move. And when you've had enough of that, gently scoop the legs in towards the chest. Breathe into your low back that's smoothed out now. And then we'll set the feet down. Let's straighten out the left leg and the left arm. And then extend them even longer, like you're pressing away from your hip. You're pressing away from your lowest ribs as you reach through the fingers, through the heel. Breathe through that left side. And then press in with your right foot so that you start to rock that right hip up and over towards the left. You just rock it back and forth. And then press in enough that you stack the right hip over the left and you come to a side lying total body stretch. So now we let both arms and legs reach out, stretching long, breathing and balancing here. And then let that right leg bend so you can set the foot back down and return onto your back gently. Bringing the arms to the sides, letting that left leg bend. And then straighten out the right arm and right leg. You just gently straighten it for a breath or two. And then you intensify by pressing the hip away, pressing the arm, starting with the low ribs. Now send that breath into the right side. And begin to press into the floor with your left foot so that that hip can start to rise any amount as we rock a bit towards that right side. And then press so much with your foot that you completely roll and stack your left hip over the right. And now we'll extend all of the limbs out, total body stretch. And then with the exhale, let both legs bend just a little, because instead of rolling to our back, let's roll onto our belly. So you have to scooch around a bit. And then we'll let both arms and legs extend. Wiggle a bit side to side, right hip, left hip, and then press your pelvis equally into the floor. pressing both hip creases and the pubic bone. And then from here, let's lift the right arm and the left leg and then extend. So now we're stretching, but also strengthening the low back. And release. Take the left arm, right leg, lifting and stretching, engaging that low back. And then releasing. And let's let both legs bend here. Actually, they'll bend halfway and the feet will flex so that the soles of your feet are facing the sky. And then let's press the left hip crease into the floor while we let that left knee lift. This is actually a very gentle way to open up the hip flexor and the quadricep. And I was going to leave my arms straight. I think I'll be more comfortable just letting my head rest on my hands. You might like to do that too. We'll set the left knee back down. Press the right hip crease into the mat to anchor it. Lift the knee so it's as if you're trying to press the sole of your foot up to the sky. And then release and do that back and forth a few times. You can even exaggerate it just a bit, lifting that knee higher. And then let both knees bend as much as they will to let the quads get a little greater stretch. Just make sure you keep both hip creases pressed into the mat here. The tendency is to arch the back and lift the pelvis, but we actually want to press the pelvis into the floor. Now, if you like more intensity, you could reach around, take hold of your feet and press them towards your bottom, but you're still getting a really great stretch, even if you don't wish to do that option today. All right, then at the next exhale, we'll release. Let's lock the arms in so that we can come onto the forearms, the elbows directly underneath the shoulders. Fingers spread wide and then pressing into the mat. Once again, anchor through the hip creases, anchor through the forearms, and then lift through the crown of the head, drawing the sternum forward. So coming into a Sphinx pose. And if the tops of your feet are resting on the mat, go ahead and press the tops of the feet in as well. Let that be part of your anchor. And then let your mouth open wide. Let that jaw release. Maybe take a yawn, deep breath, or a nice loud roar. And then we'll let the lips close. Allow your chin to drop towards your chest. Let the back of the neck relax. And then rotate your head. You're just looking a bit towards the right. And it scoops back down and looks just a bit towards the left. All the while it's just hanging here. And then chin towards chest. And then slowly lift the head back upright. And let's slide the left hand in so that it's directly under the shoulder now and press in with that left hand so we can begin to lift through the left shoulder, turn and look over that shoulder as well. At this point, your left hip crease may come up off of the mat. That's fine. Just keep the right one grounded. And then release. Let's take that to the other side. The right hand presses in. You peel that shoulder back, looking over the right shoulder, letting the right hip lift just a bit. Rocking back down. And just walking the forearms in more until we can come onto our forearms and knees. And then sink the hips back just a little back beyond the knees. We'll take a very soft puppy pose here, letting the forehead come to the mat. And then lift your head just a bit. I wanted to do one little variation here, or offer this as an option. If you grab your block, put it so that the wide end of the block is by the palms, and then let your palms actually touch the block. That's one option. Or option two is to let the edge of the pinky finger touch the block, so your palms are actually face up, and then come back down into that puppy pose. Once you're back in puppy and you have your forehead resting on the floor so that your neck and shoulders can be relaxed, then actively press into the block with that outer edge of your pinky fingers if you're doing that variation. And let your hands lift the block and reach towards your upper back, like your palms could pat your back. Only we just have that block in the way. But come back and forth with that a few times. So this will loosen up through the shoulder girdle as well as through the triceps. And when the block touches down, if your knees and hips allow, go ahead and sink into a child's pose. You can set the block aside. We're finished there. And then if you're in child's pose, just stay there with your legs and sit upright, bringing your hands to your thighs. If you don't take child's pose, then you could simply come to a kneeling position at this time. And we'll do a few little arch and curl movements, a little cat-cow while we're here to keep loosening up the spine. So with the hands on the thighs, inhaling, let's pull the chest forward, lift the gaze, let the back arch. And then exhaling, navel to spine, round the low back. Inhaling, come into that arch. Exhaling, find your curl. Couple more times here. And then let's all make our way up to a kneeling position. And then we'll use the blocks next. So if you want to set your blocks way out in front, actually. And then let's go from kneeling to a kneeling lunge. Let's try and do it without the hands touching down, just to engage the core and utilize a little more balance. We start with the right foot. So just see if you can pick up that right knee and then set the foot forward. Creeping it a little more forward so that your back knee is just a little ways behind your hip, since we've already opened up that hip flexor a bit. And then from there, let's let the arms come out, up overhead, and then take hold of opposite elbows. And that's where we'll have our arm placement for this lunge today. And then press your pelvis forward. And release out of the stretch a bit. And then press your pelvis forward again. Releasing again. Pressing the pelvis forward and this time holding. As we hold, can you bring your elbows back behind you anymore? And while you're bringing the elbows behind, can you also draw in your lowest ribs so that you're not simply arching the back, but you really truly are opening up through the rib cage and the shoulders. And now exhaling, you'll release the hands. They can come to the blocks now for a little support, maybe on the tallest orientation, as we sink the hips back and let that right leg straighten or almost straighten, and let the foot flex. So hinging forward, we're finding our first hamstring stretch. So let it be a gentle one, maybe coming into that stretch and then backing off of it just a bit. Dancing with the stretch in and out a few times. And then when you feel that your leg is ready, then just hold that hamstring stretch. Now slide the foot in so you can plant the foot back on the mat with the heel underneath the knee. We'll come back up to this kneeling position, and then let's kickstand the left foot over to the right. So we have to pivot on that left knee so that we're facing the wide edge of the mat. Now we can get the inner thigh on this right leg. So place the back of the right hand inside of the inner knee and let your hand press on your leg as your leg lightly presses on the hand. And then like you're sawing, just extend that arm down and then back. So we're easing in and out of this inner thigh stretch. So if you've got sore, achy muscles, especially your thighs, sometimes that gentle in and out of the stretch is a little more therapeutic than just trying to crank out a firm stretch and holding it. Once you've moved in and out a few times, then you can find a more moderate stretch and stay here and breathe. Keep that arm pressing into your knee so that it stays out. And then release. We come back to kneeling. And I think I'll just turn to face the other side of the mat here. Keep my blocks handy. So I'm just kneeling and without using my hands, engaging the core, slowly bringing that left foot forward until I can land in this kneeling lunge. And then sweeping the arms out, up overhead, and maybe touching the elbows. The elbows doesn't work, you could just touch the forearms. And then pressing the pelvis forward and back. So ease in and out of this a few times. And then just keep pressing that pelvis forward. And then draw your lowest ribs in just a bit. And then try pulling your elbows back behind you just a bit. And then release the hands. They can come down and find the blocks. And we'll let that front leg come almost straight and the foot flexing. And we'll hinge from the hip to fold into that first hamstring stretch. Coming in and out of it at least 4 or 5 times. Coaxing our way into a more moderate stretch. And then when you're ready, just hold and breathe. And now slide that heel back in so that we can plant the foot and the heel is directly underneath your knee. And we'll kickstand that right foot over to the left as we open up towards the wide edge of the mat. Back of the left hand onto the inner knee, light pressure there. We begin to saw with that left hand, that left arm, as we come in and out of an inner thigh stretch. And then when you feel ready, come into the stretch and hold. And then release. Come back to kneeling. Tuck the toes under. Place the hands on the mat so we can lift into a downward facing dog. And pedal the feet back and forth. And then walk the feet up towards the hands. Land in your ragdoll, just letting the upper body hang or sway. And with the next inhale, let's engage the core and sweep the arms out and up. Exhaling, we'll dive halfway down. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, slide the hands down the legs into our forward fold. More deeply bend the knees and let's roll up one vertebrae at a time. Once you're upright, pause for a breath. Notice what you're feeling. And then let's set our blocks at the top of the mat for our lunging sequence. And come to standing at the top as well. Let's stand on that left foot. Engage the core. We'll lift the right knee. So we'll just let the foot kind of dangle from the knee. We'll let the arms come out like a T. And we'll turn this into a standing half frog by just letting that right knee move out to the right. And it's not a tree pose, so we don't put the foot on the inner thigh. We just let the foot dangle from the knee. And then we let the knee return forward. The knee stays where it is, but now we'll rotate the torso to the right. So we're coming into a bit of a twist, a little bit of an outer thigh stretch. If you need to, you could let that left hand kind of help you out. Hold on to the right thigh or your pant leg, give it a little help. You could also let your foot touch down onto the block if you need just a little more support. Now, with the next exhale, we'll just rotate the torso back forward facing, and then we'll slow motion move into our lunge. So extending that right leg back and eventually letting the foot touch down. Now let the arms reach up overhead. Let the palms touch. Reach as high as you can with the fingers as you allow the tailbone to sink down towards the earth. And we'll separate the hands. We'll lean forward. I'm going to touch my blocks. You could do the blocks or the floor as you let that left leg now come straight. Hinge forward once more. Now a nice deep hamstring stretch. If you'd like, you could even shift your hips back a few inches and let that left foot flex. And then you get a calf stretch as well as a deep hamstring stretch. We'll do our outer thigh next, and I want to give you the option of leaving that left foot flexed. I usually tell you to set the foot down, but if you're feeling good with your core and balance, keep that foot flexed. Just try that tonight. Right hand still remains on the block. We'll bring the left hand to the hip. In fact, press the thumb into the hip crease, moving the head of the thigh bone back behind you further as you rotate the torso towards the left. And either leaving that hand there or reaching the arm to the sky. I'm feeling a much deeper stretch on my outer thigh as I keep this foot flexed. Come back out of that. We'll let the left hand come back down towards the blocks. Go ahead and set that left sole of the foot back on the floor and let your leg bend. Left leg bends, right foot roots its way back further. So now we're in a lower lunge. And then once again, we'll sweep the left arm out to the side or reach it up to the sky. So a revolved lunge here. As we hold in this lunge, think of pressing that right heel further to the back of the room, pressing the left knee further to the front. And then release that left arm back down to the blocks or the floor. Step the right foot up to the left. Return upright, reaching the arms up overhead, and then letting them drift down to the sides. Pause here, reconnecting with your breath. And then balancing on the right foot, engaging the core. We'll lift the left knee, let the arms reach out like a T. Remember, the foot just dangles in this version. And when ready, bring the knee out to the left side, our standing half frog. And then we'll let the knee come forward once again. That leg stays there, or you can touch the foot down, or you could hold on for a little support. But we'll twist the torso towards the left. Unwind from that twist. In slow motion, extend the left leg back, eventually landing in a lunge. Letting the arms sweep up overhead and the palms touch. And then rising through the fingertips while rooting through the tailbone. Releasing the arms out now as we hinge forward. Maybe let the hands find the blocks or the mat as we let the right leg straighten. Maybe even shifting the hips back a few more inches so we have room to let the right foot flex. Hinging forward here into a nice deep hamstring stretch now. Then turning it into an outer thigh IT band stretch. Keep the foot flexed if you want more intensity. Set the foot down if you don't want the intensity. Bring the right thumb to that hip crease and give it a little press so you feel the head of your thigh bone and press towards the back of the mat. Then turn the torso towards the right. Maybe leave the hand where it is, or maybe let that arm reach to the sky. Bring that right arm back down. Set the sole of the foot down as well. And then deepen this lunge, sending the left foot back further and further. And then turning this into a revolved lunge. So once again, the right arm reaching out to the side or maybe up towards the sky. And sweep that hand back down to the blocks. And we'll step the back foot up to the top of the mat. Returning upright, reaching the arms overhead. And then letting them release to the sides. Pausing here to reconnect with your breath. And then when ready, let's turn to face the wide edge of the mat. Let's take the blocks with us. We'll land in a nice supportive wide leg fold. But first we'll do our squat. So let's take the toes to the corners of the mat. Let the knees bend. Maybe shift the weight side to side a few times. And then settle in here, either with the hands on the thighs, or maybe deepening it, letting the elbows press into the inner thighs. And then slowly return upright. And send the heels out so that all the toes are facing the wide edge of the mat. Let's reach the hands behind, maybe interlacing the fingers. On an inhale, lift the heart and the gaze. And then exhaling, put a little bend in the knees, hinge from the hips, dive down, letting the arms rise up behind you, letting the head be heavy and neck be long. And then release the arms as they come down now, and they can set the blocks up, towering them up so that you have a resting place for your head. So your head can either, it can be your forehead that rests on the block, the hairline, or the crown of the head. They all have their own benefits. So you can pick and choose, but let that head be fully supported. And then press in through the heels. Rise through the sit bones. Let your legs come a little straighter. They don't have to go all the way straight, but enough that you feel this on your hamstrings and the inner thighs. And then once again, just let the arms dangle towards the floor here. Once in position, use as little effort as possible to maintain it. Just begin to feel your breath flowing. Let's bend the knees a bit now. Placing the hands onto the thighs, so we can lift the head off of our tower blocks. Slowly returning upright. And then walking the feet until they're once again together. Pause for a breath. And then return to the top of the mat. And we'll make our way back down. Inhaling, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhaling, dive down, landing in a downward facing dog. Feel free to play with your dog pose, embellish it any way you like this time. And then slowly lowering on down to the knees. Having your blocks handy if you know you like to use them for the pigeon pose. And then when ready, let's bring the right knee up towards the right hand and sweep the foot over to the left. Start to scoot the hips back. I like to sit on a block with my right sit bone and then sit on, place the other block underneath my left thigh, my left quadricep. So it keeps my pelvis nice and level. And let the top of the back foot just rest into the mat, plugging into the fingertips so I can get maximum length through the spine. And then on an exhale, folding forward, coming down, maybe onto the forearms, maybe all the way down to the floor. Find the pigeon pose that feels yummy, but borderline not yummy. One more breath in. And then exhaling, start to walk the hands back. If you were using blocks, scoot them out of the way. And then just let yourself sit mainly on that right hip, leaving the right leg bent. You'll swing the left leg all the way around forward and then let it come to rest. You could either plant the foot by your right shin, or for more intensity, bring the foot across the leg, planting it on the right outer thigh. And then trying to situate yourself so that you're on both sit bones or almost on both sit bones. We'll take our twist from here. So let's scoop that left knee into the right elbow, or maybe it's just the right hand if you want a gentler version. And then inhaling, sweep the left arm up, reaching behind. Exhale, plug the fingers into the mat. Inhale, rise through the crown of the head. Exhale, possibly deepen your twist, and then hold here. With the next exhale, we'll unwind, uncross the legs, come back onto the hands and knees, and then bring that left knee forward, the foot sweeping over to the right as you start to scoot your pelvis back, using the blocks if you like to prop up and make it a little more comfortable. Plugging in through the fingertips to rise through the crown. And then folding forward, walking the arms out until you find that just right stretch. We'll take one more deep breath in. And then exhaling, start to walk the hands in. Remove the props if you were using them. And then let's swing the right leg all the way around, planting the foot either by that left shin or crossing it over the leg, settling in onto our sit bones. And then scooping up that front knee and the left arm. Inhale, reaching the right arm up. Exhale, reach it behind. Plug the fingers into the mat. Inhale, rise through the crown. Exhale, possibly deepen your twist. And then breathe here. And then unwind. Unwrap the legs. And we'll take a seated bound angle tonight. But let's sit on our blocks, or if you have a folded blanket, you could just sit on that as well. But we'll put the blocks on the lowest orientation, since I know everyone has blocks, and then have a seat up there. Get the flesh of the bum out behind, and then bring the soles of the feet together in as close to the groin as possible. And then once here, just rock a bit side to side. This kind of helps to loosen up just a little more. And then find that stillness. And then with your hands, if you can reach your feet, open your feet up like a book. So let the pinky toe side stay touching, but peel the big toe side open a bit. And you still hold there. And then as you inhale, lift as much as you can still through the crown. Exhaling, hinge from the hips, folding forward. So this isn't a relaxing bound angle. This is more of a therapeutic one. So let the legs stay heavy and relaxed. Breathe into any tightness. And then for the next few breaths, go ahead and allow your arms to bend, allow your back to round a bit as it becomes a little more relaxing version. And release back upright. Let your hands press on the outer knees to bring them towards each other. That was a fairly deep stretch. And then scoot yourself off of the blocks and set them aside. We're finished with them. Lay back down onto your back. We'll take a single leg twist to finish the class tonight. So let's stretch the left leg out straight. Put the right foot on that left thigh. You can use your left hand here on the outer right knee to guide it across the body and let the hips stack. And then beginning to look over your right shoulder and then let the eyes close down. The next exhale, release onto your back. Pause. And then let's bend the left leg, straighten the right leg out. And we'll put that left foot on the right thigh. And with an exhale, let's move into our twist. With the next exhale, we'll roll back onto the back. Both legs be bent, feet on the mat. Arms can come to the sides here. Let's lift into one bridge pose, just scooping the hips up high. And once they're at their highest orientation, sweep the arms up overhead, leaving the arms overhead as an anchor. And then let's roll out one vertebrae at a time, ironing out the spine here. And then once your sacrum touches down, release the arms. Let them come out wide, palms facing up. Let your feet walk out as wide as the mat, and then let the legs stretch out. The legs are in this nice V or any other position you'd like your body to be in for relaxation. Letting the eyes now float closed. Let's take a deep breath in. And then exhale, let go of your head. Let go of your temples, your cheekbones, and your chin. Let go of the neck. Maybe let the head roll side to side a bit and then settle back in. Release the shoulders, the arms, hands, and fingers. Returning to the shoulders, let's soften them again. And let go of the chest and the upper back, and the belly, low back, releasing hips and pelvic floor. Letting go of the legs and feet and toes. Allow your front body to melt into your back. Allow your back body to melt into your mat as you give yourself a moment to completely relax. Yeah, feel free to stay here as long as you like. Well, if you're ready to end the class with me, let's take another deep breath in. And then exhaling, begin to move the fingers and toes, sliding your legs a little closer together. And then softly bending the knees and rolling to one side. When ready, gently pressing up to any seated position. Sitting up tall, bringing the hands to the heart, sealing the practice with your own quiet prayer or a moment of stillness. And when ready, let the hands release to the left. The eyes slowly reopen as we return to our day. And I've got some sunshine now. That's a nice, wonderful little surprise. Just happened during relaxation. So I thank you all very much for joining me. I hope your hips and thighs feel a little bit softer and more relaxed. One reminder, so 2 weeks from tonight, I'll be on vacation. So there won't be a live class. There will be always a class posted on my website. It'll be from the previous week, but you could work out with that. But there won't be a live class 2 weeks from tonight. So otherwise, I will plan on seeing you next week. And until then, I wish you peace.
Thank you, Diane. I love